Well, hey, everybody. Happy Sunday. Getting ready to record Mike in the Midwest. That's right. Got the hat on. Here we go. Let's do this. Episode 234. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 234 of Mike in the Midwest, our mini podcast for the amazing patrons just like you of the Be Our Guest podcast. Of course, my name is Mike Rallman, host of the Be Our Guest podcast, and you can find our show wherever you find any podcasts. Of course, I download my shows on Pocket Cast, but you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Overcast. Let's see. You can find us also on Spotify. You can find us everywhere. You know that because you're a patron. You've downloaded our show a few times. So thank you for that. So enough with that. I just hope that you're having a great week and a super Sunday if you're downloading the show as it gets released. I hope that you are getting ready to have some good eats this afternoon, this evening, as you watch the big game, and that you have a good time with your friends and family. Like I said on the show, I don't really have a dog in the hunt this year. Just going to sit here. We're not even really having a big Super Bowl party around this neck of the woods this year. We're going to go over to my brother-in-law and sister-in-law's house, but my nephew is a little bit sick. He's got the type A flu. So staying clear of that. We're just going to stay here. Mallory's going over to some friend's house. So it's just going to be Pam and I. So we called up Wingstop. We're getting a little wing pack with some of those great fries that they have and a little salad. And that we're having a Super Bowl party for two. So nothing wrong with that. We've had, it's funny how your life changes, right? When we used to have the St. Louis Rams here back in the day, 15, 20 years ago, we would have huge Super Bowl parties, especially the years where the Rams were in the Super Bowl. I mean, it was a blockbuster thing. I mean, it was like, where are you going to go? Because everybody had one. We're going to go here. We're going to host. We're going to go to our friend's house. And when we did, we'd have 20, 30 people there. And when you don't have an NFL team in your city, it's not such a big deal anymore. And it's still, it's a cultural thing, right? To watch the Super Bowl. So you could talk about the game, as you could talk about, because I'm a huge football fan. I love watching the game. So you could talk about the commercials for pop culture. It's going to be fun. I mean, don't get me wrong. I can't wait to watch it this afternoon, but it's, as you get into life, like when I was in my 20s and 30s, I mean, dude, it was a huge thing. And, now we're going to watch it, but a little bit more casually. I think, we don't have to be at a huge bash to think, if I was in my 20s and 30s, just to watch the Super Bowl, just two people, I'd have thought that was like heresy, but I'm actually kind of looking forward to it. So we'll see how it goes. First time doing that, so we'll have a good time with that. But I hope you're having a great time and that you have a good time with your Super Bowl party. And if you're a Chiefs fan, if you are an Eagles fan, I hope that you enjoy the game. I know that it is. Here's the bad part. If you have a dog in the hunt, the game sometimes is not as enjoyable because I've been there, right? As a diehard Mizzou fan, as a diehard Cardinal fan my whole life, I have a lot of fandoms. When your team is actually when you're invested in the game, you have a lot, if you win, it is the highest of highs. But when you come so close, as Bills fans knows, from last week, when you come so close and you don't get to summit the mountain, it's a tough pill to swallow. So I know it makes it almost painful to watch a game like today, but just enjoy it and hope you have a good time with it and just have a good afternoon and a good evening. So anyway, we're back and I'm glad to be back here in the studio. A little update on this week's recording, because the crew is scattered here, there, and everywhere. We've been all over the place over the past couple of weeks. Of course, I was out at Disneyland last weekend running in the Disneyland half marathon events. Man, did I have a good time. I love Disneyland. I think you heard that on Monday or on Wednesday's podcast. I love being at Disneyland. And the weather was so perfect for running last weekend. It all came together. It was so much fun. I hope you got that on Wednesday's show. I loved it. We'll talk about that. Just a few more thoughts on Disneyland here in just a few minutes. But as you know, Scotty G is currently on his last day. He did a 3-night cruise on the Disney Wish. We're recording this, of course, on Sunday, February 9th, 2025, in case you're listening to this later on, because it is a podcast. But he's on the last night of a 3-night cruise, last day of a 3-day cruise on the Disney Wish today. He went out there and he took his in-laws with him. His in-laws had cruised before, but they had never cruised Disney Cruise Line. So as part of their Christmas gift, this was their Christmas gift, and he'd helped them with his in-laws had helped them with some real estate stuff. So they went on this cruise together. So here's the thing though about Scotty G. So we were always texting and talking all the time, right? He's my best bud. He did not tell me that he was not going to get internet on this cruise. So, we've been texting, that he stayed at Coronado Springs before the cruise, did his walks in the mornings. I saw that he was at the casitas. I follow him on Find My Friends on our iPhone, so I always know where he is. So I get up super early every morning. I either walk or run on the treadmill. When he's at Walt Disney World, I like to kind of follow him, see where he is. When I'm on my vacations, he's always checking me out, seeing where I am. He's always like, oh, so you're going to Magic Kingdom today, right? Or, when I'm at Disneyland, he's like, oh, so you're having breakfast at Red Rose, because he can see where I'm sitting, right? We love that. We talk about that. He texts me because he can see me on Find My Friends. So I'm like, oh, you're already in the pool at the casitas, because I know he loves to go to the quiet pool at the casitas, right? I can see exactly what he's doing. So I see this, and he's all over Coronado Springs, having fun, chilling, all that stuff. And I see that he's driving to the port, because I can see that he is now, on departure morning. He has, he's gone to Barcelona Lounge in the Grand Casino Tower. I can tell he's probably having breakfast, because that's his jam. You guys know that from the show. He loves getting breakfast at Barcelona Lounge. I think they have these breakfast burritos. And I can see, it's about time to pack up and head to the port. And I can see now he's trucking down 417. So he's heading, to the port. He's heading east. And gets there. And so I start seeing his posts, right? I see a post on social media, and I was really busy on Friday working. Fridays are super busy in the travel agency. So, because people get, do you want my payments? People get paid. So I want to make partial payments on their vacations, stuff like that. A lot of quotes come in and stuff. So I'm working, but I'm also following Scott at the same time. And I see him posting on social media, like a picture of his door. I see some pictures of them arriving on board. So I'm like super excited. He sends me a text like, dude, missing you. Wish you were on the cruise. I'm like, me too. I'm working. I wish I was on the Wish with you. Blah, blah, blah. And then I see a picture of them sailing away from the back. They're in the adult pool. I can tell they're in the back of the adult pool, looking back towards Port Canaveral, towards the Fantasy, which, by the way, Ricky is on the Fantasy. Both ships were in Port Canaveral at the same time, sailing out on the same day. So Ricky's on the Fantasy, Scott's on the Wish. And so I'm thinking that Scott's going to buy the internet package, because he was just on Royal Caribbean, right, this summer, and he was on it for back-to-back 7-night cruises, and he bought the internet for both 7-night cruises. So, we could text, we could all this for 2 weeks. So I'm for sure he's going to buy the internet for 3 nights. Dude doesn't buy the internet, I guess. I have it because I keep looking for him on Find My Friends. He's still a dot in Port Canaveral. He has not moved. So I guess he turned his internet off. I guess he went into airplane mode, which I respect. I respect that if he didn't. And here's the thing. I have not texted him, because I think texting still works. But here's the thing. I don't know if that's how it works on the airplane, because I know on Southwest Airlines, you can still send messages through iMessage, even if you don't buy the internet. I can't remember if that works on the cruise line. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it doesn't. But the thing is, when I saw that his Find My dot was not updating ever since he left Port Canaveral, I made the decision that he does not want to be contacted. Maybe he wants to go old school and just enjoy his time with Emily and Elizabeth and his in-laws. And you know what? I respect the heck out of that, if that's his choice, because that's how cruising used to be, right? It used to be, and it wasn't that long ago. It was only a few years ago where as soon as that boat started moving, I was paranoid. This is actually just a few cruises ago. I would tell, Paige, I would tell Pam, and I'd make darn sure that I took my phone and I put on airplane mode. I made sure that I turned off all cell, anything that was like cell coverage, because I was always reading on message boards and social media that you would get hit, you would get back into port, and you would find out that like some app in the background, like an email app or some crazy app, was fetching some mails or something the entire time you were on your cruise, and you were going to get hit with some crazy roaming charge the whole time you were at sea. So I was always like, okay, turn off your cell connection, turn up, make sure you're in airplane mode, make sure you got all the settings where nothing is absolutely connecting. Well, now, kind of just to appease a teenage daughter, I do buy the internet package so that she can connect, like the cheapest one, so she can connect with her friends via Snapchat or whatever she uses. And I buy it so, because I'll be honest, I like to post my stuff so you guys can see it to the clubhouse and to social media. I know, I shouldn't, and I'm connected at sea, and the whole point of a cruise is to not be connected at sea. I'm totally torn on that, and that's why I think if Scott did not buy the internet, I applaud him, because I think it took a lot of discipline. If he didn't, I can't wait to ask him about this tomorrow when he gets back. Because if he did not buy the internet, man, I pat him on the back, because I bet he enjoyed the heck out of not having to pick up his phone as much. I bet he took a ton of pictures, because he does must see adventures, right? I bet he took a lot of video. I don't know if you guys know this. He'll probably talk about it on his vlog, but they got a cabana on Castaway Cay, because the good news with these 3-night cruises that he was on is that typically there's not a whole lot of people that sail on those that are platinum or gold. So if you ever want to get a cabana, that's a good one to try to get a cabana on, because you're going to see availability for like the things you typically can't get, like those cabanas on Castaway Cay slip down, because typically the people who are like pearl, platinum, gold, they're typically, they don't usually do the short 3-night cruises. They're going to go for the longer cruises and the more like, because they've cruised so many times, they're going to go for like Mediterranean cruises, Alaska cruises, kind of the more exotic type cruises, unless they're doing like a back-to-back, like a 4 and a 3. Sometimes they'll do that. So he did get a cabana, so that I'm sure that'll be cool coverage for Must See Adventures when he gets back and he gets that edited up. I'm excited to see that. So I'm sure he shot a lot of the video, so I'm sure there wasn't like no technology involved, but it wasn't in real time. So I can't wait that's going to be something I want to talk to him about on the show. Like, what was that like without Mike bugging you, texting you, asking you about it? And he's posted stuff on social media, because I think he took like a step back in time, like 5 years. I don't know. I'm just curious about how you feel about that. And that's the topic I wanted to bring here, Mike, in the Midwest. We just kind of sit here, we talk on Sunday mornings, and that was something I wanted to bring to the table. So when you cruise or when you go on your vacations, either to World, Disneyland, what have you, where do you find that balance with getting excited to share and also trying to disconnect and just be in the moment, be with your family? Because I find that really hard, because right. You got to, I'm, not trying to say that it's any different for me, but I make my living by doing this podcast and booking travel. So I want to share the excitement of the destination. I want to share how fun a Disney cruise is with everybody that follows me on social media, because if I do that, hopefully people will want to, get engaged with going on the Disney Treasure, going on the Disney Wish, going on the Fantasy, going on the Magic, like we're doing this summer. But I enjoy that. That makes my vacation more exciting for me when I get to share things. I like to get creative, take fun pictures, shoot creative video. That makes my vacation better. Doesn't make my vacation worse. It's not like this is hard, I got to shoot video and post it. I enjoy doing that. It makes my vacation more fun. And I make sure I do it when it's not going to get in the way of my family. Like, my family's doing other stuff. Like, my girls like to lay out, and they're at the age, my wife and my daughters, they want to sunbathe. They want to sit out there and just chill on, loungers up in the adult area. I don't like to do that. So they'll be like, take a walk. So that's when I'll get on my social media, take creative pictures and stuff like that. So it works out well for us at this point in my life. And a lot of times I'm on solo trips, so it works out well there. But where do you find that balance? Do you like to totally disconnect when you're at Walt Disney World? Do you like to share? And the other funny thing is, we have the Clubhouse at beourguestpodcast.com/clubhouse, the Discord server. And we started that channel, the live from the Disney Destinations channel, when Scott was on his med cruises on Royal Caribbean. We actually just started that so we could check in with Scott, basically just for the duration of his cruises. So he could post stuff when he was on his cruises so we could see what he was up to. And then when he got back, we decided to change the title to Live from Disney Trips for when anybody was on their Disney trips. And what we found out, it's probably our most popular channel in the Discord server, is that our audience is so big that somebody is continuously at a Disney destination and somebody is continuously posting from a Disney destination. And it is so exciting because, right now, Mercury Waxing is posting from his vacation this morning, and he posted a cool hat he had on last night. And he's doing 4 parks in one day today, I think. And it's just exciting to see how, like, we just keep passing the baton. When I was out at Disneyland, I was posting stuff last weekend, and people are going to be at Princess here shortly, and they'll be posting their pictures from, the hotels they're staying in, their races. And in between, you just have families there, Pop Century and All-Star Sports. And, some people are in deluxe hotels, and you get what it is. You get the excitement of the vacation. You get theme park pictures. You get couples, you get families, you get to kind of eavesdrop. It's kind of like a live trip report, but you just get snapshots and thoughts, and you can ask questions for people that are on the ground right now. It's like the coolest little social experiment in that channel. But for Disney fans like us that just long for more interaction content from the Disney destinations, I love that channel. I love it because you never know what you're going to get. Like, I don't know if you have like your settings. I never change the settings on Discord. I've never messed with it because I don't know how to use it that well. But whenever anybody posts, I get that little sound. It goes doo-doo, or whatever. It even does it like when it's Bluetoothed on my car radio. So when we're riding around, listening to music, and it goes doo-doo, and it probably drives my wife crazy. But like, I know, like, if something big is happening, something goes crazy, right? Doo-doo-doo-doo. But whenever I hear that, I get excited because then somebody must be posted in the Discord, and something's going on. I always check on my phone or see what's going on. When I see pictures in that live channel, I'm always excited that somebody's posting some cool stuff. We can check out what's going on. But I appreciate everybody takes the time to do that during their vacations, because it does bring the destinations to us when, again, it's going to be snowing here in St. Louis, apparently, again on Monday and Wednesday, which, boo. It was 76 here last Monday. I thought we were going to get out of this again, and here comes the snow again. So boo. All right. So that's that. Just wanted to talk about that. But I was wondering how you fall on that social media disconnect, or are you like ultra sharing on your vacations like me? I do. I know I overshare, but I hope you enjoy it. And I do try to find a time to do it away from my family. I try not to take time away from the girls. Okay. So update on this week's shows. This has gone back and forth a bunch of times. So Scott and Ricky, like I said, they are on cruises. Scott's cruise ends tomorrow morning. They get back in port tomorrow morning. It's a 3-night cruise, so they're done tomorrow morning. I think he's staying down there till Tuesday. And then Ricky's on a 5-night cruise. So I think she comes back like Wednesday or something. Anyway, doesn't matter. They're not going to be back for this week's shows. It's just Pam and I. Pam's going down to Walt Disney World tomorrow on Monday for her first vacation to Walt Disney World in a pretty long time because of Steve's accident. And I'm super excited for those two because they have gone through a ton over the past 4 or 5 months. This will be the first time Steve's been able to travel. First time Steve's been able to really get out of the house. So please say a prayer for them that everything goes well, that they have an enjoyable time. They're just going to really kind of relax at the resort. They're not going to do much. They're just going to be able to, kind of get out of the cold and just be able to kind of be at the resort and just enjoy relaxing for a little bit. Pam's got a couple meetings with Disney down at Walt Disney World. But the plan was, until about an hour ago, that Pam and I were going to record this week's shows on Tuesday because Pam has to travel tomorrow on Monday when we normally record. That's when she would be in the air. So that was going to be the plan. However, Disney just informed her that they've moved her meeting to Tuesday. So we are going to record this week's shows this afternoon. So if you're listening to the show right away, please join us this afternoon before the Super Bowl. We're going to record listener questions and our Valentine's show this afternoon at about 3 o'clock Eastern. So join us live for that. So we'd love to have you be a part of that. That's going to be today, Sunday, the 9th of February. This afternoon, Pam and I are going to record listener questions and our Valentine's show. So join us for that. And here's the other thing. We will have a live call-in show now this week, but it's going to be tomorrow night on Monday in the slot of the normal recording. I'm going to be here, and we're going to do it at the normal time of 4. We'll do it at probably 4 o'clock. Wait, that would be 5 o'clock Eastern. Let's go 5 o'clock Eastern for 1 hour and take your calls and do a live call-in show since we haven't done one for a while. So we'll do that tomorrow, Monday the 10th, a live call-in show at 5 o'clock Eastern, and see how that goes. All right. So we'll do a live call-in show tomorrow at 5 o'clock Eastern, and I'll put that out on the socials, and we'll take your calls, and then we'll have that. So live call-in show tomorrow. We'll do the recordings this afternoon, and then Wednesday we'll have the trip report show, and that's this week's schedule. You got it? Because I don't even got it. So we'll see how that goes. All right. Now let's get to the feedback from last week's show. We talked about the joy in the small things, and you just got to find the small things in life. So Dennis says, there are not a lot of big items that I won't replace due to nostalgia, but I have a hard time getting rid of souvenirs. I have a coffee mug collection that is out of control that I put together from purchases made on various trips. Disney Cruise Line mugs are currently the biggest part of the collection. I did think of one nostalgic thing that I'm holding on to and maybe shouldn't. When my older son was a toddler, he loved Thomas the Tank Engine. As the only grandchild on both sides of the family, he was absolutely spoiled with the toys, DVDs, clothes, etc. I even decorated his room with Thomas the Tank Engine. Eventually, he grew out of that, and we got rid of most of the collection. I did hang on to one box that has a bunch of engines, track, and other pieces. My son can't remember anything about Thomas the Tank Engine. I, however, have the theme song of the show stuck in my head, along with a lot of other useless information about Thomas and his friends. Think their colors, names, numbers, and such. Still, thinking of him as a young boy playing with these engines makes me smile. Dennis, I could not relate more to this. So that is so true. There was a show that I watched over and over with Mallory. And so when Mallory was sick, or when Mallory was little, she was always sick with like this cough and this like cold thing that she couldn't get over when she was a baby. And eventually she had to get her tonsils and adenoids removed when she was pretty young, like maybe 1 or 2. I don't know. She's still pretty young. And we had to take her into the hospital and she had to have surgery and have her tonsils and adenoids removed. And it's a like first time like having a baby dad. Cause like I came into the picture with Paige when she was 4 years old. She's my stepdaughter. If you didn't know, I still call her my daughter because she is. But I didn't have her as a baby. So I was freaked out. Like when I was there when Mallory was born, I almost passed out in the delivery room because it was so stressful. I'm not great with stress. And then when my daughter had to have surgery again, I almost freaked out because I was so nervous about that. And I just remember when she was sick and then when she had surgery in the hospital, like she loved the show. And I don't know if you guys know the show. It was called Caillou. And it was, I guess, I can't remember the TV stations on it, but it was on some cable channel or something. But he was kind of like a Canadian Charlie Brown. And it was the weirdest show. But there was this Caillou Christmas. And we watched this Caillou Christmas episode over and over and over because she loved it so much. And it like soothed her when she was having all these problems with her adenoids and her tonsils. And there were other episodes too that we'd watch, but the Caillou Christmas, oh my gosh, she loved the Caillou Christmas, like Calliou, I think is how you spelled it. It's like a bald kid. I think he's from Canada. He looked like Charlie Brown, and his mom and everything would come in and like put him in his, room and stuff. It was, for preschoolers, but it was just, it's one of those things like I can still like hear the song. It's exactly what you just described, Dennis. I mean, we didn't have collectibles or anything because I don't think they sold toys or anything. I think it was a Canadian thing. So I don't think they sold stuff in the States, thank God. But it was one of those things like we watched it so much. With Paige, it was Barney. When she was little, it was always Barney, and she had Barney stuff. But you are exactly right. But we didn't have the merch, thank goodness. Now I got the merch issue with all the stuff on the shelf back here, but fortunately, I keep all my stuff just in this studio in this one room. And when Pam starts freaking out, I just get to close the door, and that helps. So, but yeah, Thomas the Tank Engine. I kind of remember that a little bit, but I love that you're holding on to those memories of your son and that you were so into that because he was so into that. And as the kids get older, you just got to treasure that. I mean, it's hitting me hard. I mean, Scott's getting it right with Emily. It's her last semester of high school right now. Mallory's going to be a senior shortly. Ugh, it's killing me. It is. I mean, I have to admit it now. It's gone too fast. I hate it, but they grow up. Just gotta live with it. Trisha up in Wisconsin says, I remember kids climbing on snowbanks formed when the playground was plowed. Some were not structurally sound, and many a snow boot got lost until spring if you stepped in the wrong place. I'm clearly not sentimental about things, but rather experiences. I clearly remember the way my daughter's face was illuminated by the castle fireworks and the awe in her eyes. But if I didn't have a timestamp on my pictures, I wouldn't have been able to tell you what show we watched that night. My favorite keepsakes, besides the lightsaber I built in Savi's workshop, are the pictures I have of our family vacations, especially the candid ones when you capture the joy of the moment. But I would probably be gutted if they ever remove Star Wars from the parks. I've said this for years. My favorite souvenirs are pictures. And with digital pictures nowadays, you can take as many as you want. Don't hesitate to pull out your phone and take the picture. And Memory Maker is so good too. I know it's expensive, but if you're going to be there more than a few days, buy it. I've never had a guest regret the pictures you get from Memory Maker. Now, here's the thing. If you buy it, use the heck out of it because it's the same cost. I mean, stop at every opportunity you get, especially if you're a race. You need it if you're at a race weekend, period, because they get awesome pictures of you on the course. That's why I get it. But if you're there, I mean, stop at the castle, stop anywhere. Like if you see them randomly in front of the Astro Orbiter, get a picture when it back used to be there. It's not there anymore right now. But I mean, boom, get it there, get it with characters. Because the thing is, you never know what kind of photographer you got there that's going to take some super creative shot. And that's something that 10, 12 years down the line, that is going to be a memory that you got the story and you will not regret it. I wish I had more That's the one thing as an older parent now. I wish I had more videos and pictures. I wish. And I would pay. I would go back and pay as a cheap guy. Billy says, hey, Mike, I found this episode interesting. I'm definitely different about nostalgia when it comes to vehicles. I tend to drive them until they won't go anymore. The memories of the things that happened in those cars are mobile with me long after the cars themselves cease to be. While I do appreciate your nostalgic view on things, I tend to fall into the more practical group, especially with vehicles. And in this particular Jeep instance, we seem to both be justified in you keeping it. Yes, I still have like my 2012 Jeep, and I'm going to keep that thing because, again, it's practical because knock on wood, it still runs great. But I can still look at that passenger seat. I can still look over there and see Mallory. I swear, I'm not kidding. She's 17 now and drives her own Ford Focus, or Ford Escape. It's a Ford Escape. But I still look over there in that passenger seat, even though I'm driving by myself all the time now. Usually Riley's going to Taco Bell with me nowadays. It's not Mallory, it's Riley in the back seat. But I still look over to that passenger seat and I see the car seat. This is in my mind's eye. Passenger seat's usually empty. But I see in the passenger seat, the car seat, and Mallory sitting there. She used to have this little pea coat that was kind of had these little pink highlights in it. And she had this little bob haircut. And she would look over at me and we'd just smile and we'd ride. And I'd have the doors off the Jeep. and she'd ride in her little pea coat. It'd be a little chilly, but I'd have my windbreaker on, and she'd be strapped in. And probably wasn't the safest thing in the world, but she was strapped in good like an astronaut, like with a 5-point harness in her car seat, just smiling in her little pea coat, riding around in my Jeep in the neighborhood, and we had the best time. And that's still the vehicle I drive. And it's she's driving herself now all over town. It's gonna be hard to get rid of that because that's the seat. That's the car. Audra says, well said, Mike. Hope everyone has the big picture in mind and the focus to act on what matters most. Thank you for the positivity you share each week. Well, thank you, Audra. I appreciate that. I think positivity bounces right back. I think our whole community is super positive, and I think that's what I love about this whole podcast. I mean, that's why I love the clubhouse. That's why I love people say social media is negative. I think it's because I just tend to follow the right people on social media, and it's you guys. And that's why I can handle it, because I know there's a lot of negative, but I just tend to just not look at that stuff. All right. So let me talk about something that kind of a pit in the stomach, kind of like a sad thing that I get a pit in my stomach that I got last Sunday at Disneyland. And then I got it again this week, a little sadness. And I wonder if you guys have ever gotten this, because I thought about it really for the first time. I think it was like Tuesday night of this week. And it has to do with the show title. The show title is Vanishing. And I never really thought about it or quantified it until this week. And I want to know if this is something you've ever thought about. And it happens all the time. So I love Run Disney events, right? I love them. There's such an energy about them, right? You go out there, and I don't like the early wake up calls. I don't like all that stuff. There's nonsense to all the joy, right? But you got to go through, it's like life, right? You got to go through the painful parts to get to the glorious parts. You can't get to crossing the finish line and getting the medals and getting your nutrition box at the end and getting the pictures, that pop into your app of you running on the course and all the good stuff. You can't get, your shirts and all the fun stuff of a Run Disney race without the 2:47 alarm going off in your hotel room and dragging your rear end out into the cold with, a throwaway sweats on and getting on a bus, dark 30. It's the yin and the yang of the whole situation, right? So we had this big race weekend. It was so fun out at Disneyland, riding the rides. The weather was great, seeing friends, old and new. Just wonderful. Like, I loved it. I, got to experience a whole new hotel. The Hojo was great. I didn't know if I'd like it or not. I loved it. Got to try a lot of new foods. Man, I'm still dreaming about that brat that I had that was in the garlicky cheese pretzel. Holy cow. I'd love to have one of those today. Not. I'm going to have Jimmy John's after this. That's pretty good. It's not that. But I was thinking about this. On Sunday, after I finished the half marathon, and I went back into the park and had a good time, right? And I was going to stay. I think I talked about this on the show on Wednesday. I was going to stay. I told my wife, I was like, I'm going to stay in the park till close on Sunday. I was like, because I run or walk every morning typically. So I get up super early, but I knew I wasn't on Monday because I had to catch a flight. My flight was at 5:30 in the morning. So I always use the magical express formula. I always make sure I leave for the airport 3 hours before. And with Los Angeles, I'm always scared because there always, traffic. So I scheduled my Uber on the app like 3 days before. So I had my guy pick me up at 2:30 a.m., scheduled at 2:30 a.m. pickup. So I was like, I'll just stay till it closes, thinking that Disneyland would close at 10 o'clock ish. Nope, it stayed open until midnight. So anyway, so I was going to stay there till it closed, but long story short, I tapped out at like 8 o'clock. But here's the thing. I was thinking about this because I got a little sad about this one thing. And I get sad about these things all the time, but it hit me really hard on Sunday night. I was walking past the place. Now you got to understand how this works. I was staying at a Good Neighbor Hotel. I was staying at the Howard Johnson. And the way you walk back to your hotel, to and from your hotel, you walk down Harbor Boulevard, which is basically the street, which is parallel to Disneyland. The Matterhorn is right there. The monorail track's right there. And along this street are all these nice Good Neighbor hotels. The Tropicana, the Howard Johnson, the other hotels. It doesn't matter. But in between two of them, you go down there's like a little bitty skinny parking lot that takes you back to the corrals where they start the 10K and the half marathon. And they have like all the setups, the DJs, the information booth, all these lights, all the corrals, the big, lit up balloons, the starting line with the big sign, the video boards. It's a big ordeal. You've seen the Run Disney setups. They're awesome. The stages where Mickey Mouse comes out and starts the race out, big speakers, it's a whole production, right? So I go past there on Sunday afternoon. None of it's good there. It's like it never existed. Never existed. It's just a parking lot. And this happens at Walt Disney World every time. Like that. Marathon weekend, the energy of Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's almost like the Olympics are taking place in Epcot's parking lot. And then you go by like Sunday night or Monday, just a parking lot. There's no sign that anything exciting was happening there again. And it just makes I don't know. I think it's an illness that I have. I got sad because all of a sudden I missed it. I love the energy of the event. I love the energy of being in the event. And I know it's a temporary thing. I know it's not meant to be there. I know it's not meant to be a permanent thing. It's meant to be there for Disneyland Half Marathon Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's it. After the last person crosses the finish line, it's temporary. It's meant to be knocked down and we'll see you again next year, and then bring it back out. But when it goes away, it makes me sad because I hate to see that the event has come and gone. And I'll tell you where this got me this week. I was on Facebook. Shouldn't have been. I never go on Facebook. If I don't respond to people on Facebook, I'm never ever on Facebook. I don't know how I got on Facebook, but I was on Facebook for some reason. I think somebody reached out to me and I was trying to get back to them or something. I think my wife wanted me to look up like somebody that she was looking for on Facebook or something. And I got into this group from where we used to live, Florissant. I think we're looking for somebody we used to teach with or something. Anyway, I got into this group. It said, I used to live in Florissant or something. It's like a group. And they were talking about our town that we used to live in. We have a festival every year called Valley of Flowers. It's our town's yearly festival, Valley of Flowers. Because Florissant, our old town that we lived in French means Valley of Flowers. And every year, the first full weekend of May is our town's festival called the Valley of Flowers. And it's a big deal. When I was a kid, it's huge. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you had everything. You had a Valley of Flowers Queen, we had bands, you had a parade on Sunday. A huge parade. It took like an hour and a half to go through the town. You had carnival rides. You had a beer garden. You had, just baseball, softball tournaments, everything. Bingo. It's just crazy. Well, come to find out this year, they're not going to have the carnival rides. I saw on Facebook and people were going crazy because it's gotten a little rough in Florissant over the past few years. And people have been fighting at the carnival grounds. And over the past couple of years, some people have been shot at the carnival grounds. They've had to have metal detectors. It's just not as safe as it used to be. And so this year they decided there's no carnival rides. They're just going to have crafts and stuff like that. And they're not going to do carnival rides. Well, they've been doing this since the 50s with the carnival rides. And so people obviously are upset. But that got me thinking back to my childhood and back to the point of, again, what I was talking about is that as a kid, I used to love, we would always look forward to, there were two things. Because again, we never got to go on vacations as kids. We just didn't do it. We got to go to Six Flags. Six Flags was a big deal as a kid. And it was about 45 minutes from our house. We go to Six Flags maybe once a year, maybe twice a year. And that was huge. But the other thing we always got to do, we got to go to the carnival because it was just down the street. So we'd get tickets and get to ride our bikes down to the Valley of Flowers Carnival, and they'd always have like a Ferris wheel. They'd have like the Flying Bobs, which was like this little spinny ride, the Scrambler, your typical like carny rides. So we'd go down there and they'd always have, like DJs playing music and stuff, and you'd hang out with your friends. So, I mean, we did this from the time we were like third grade to, through high school. And it was still going, this went from like the 50s, like when my dad was a kid, all the way through like when we moved out of town, all the way till this last year. But here's the thing I always remember as a kid was that it was so cool because like you would see like the trucks come into town like the Wednesday before the Valley of Flowers started, because it was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then we would be there whether we had the money or not to ride the rides Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, because it was just the coolest thing in our town to be at the Valley of Flowers Carnival. It was just awesome because there were the neon lights, they'd have the carnival food. It would smell good. It was just like, it was like a Six Flags mini version came to your town. It was awesome. But I just remember like on Sunday afternoon when the carnival shut down and then you went back by on your bike on Monday and it was just an empty field again. It just made the pit of my stomach so sad that again vanished. Like it was just a field again. And it made you so sad. You knew it would come back again the next year. You just had to wait again another year till the first full weekend of May, and it would come back again and you get another Valley of Flowers celebration. But again, it seems so long because it was such an exciting thing. But as an adult, I can see that it's one of those things that it must be a really cool thing that if it leaves a pit in your stomach, that you must really, really enjoy it because you miss it that much. But I was wondering if you guys have any experiences like that where maybe they're annual events that when you go back and it's gone, you're just like, ooh, you get a pit in your stomach because you already miss it and it just went away. Or maybe I'm just crazy and I'm willing to say it right here on the show. So that was my thought about things that are there one day and gone the next. And it just hits you in the stomach because they vanished. All right, lots to think about on today's show, but I can't wait to hear your feedback at patreon.com/Be Our Guest Podcast. So glad you're here. And don't forget, more shows coming your way this afternoon. Pam and I are going to join you for listener questions and our Valentine's special at around 3 o'clock Eastern time, 3 or 3:30 Eastern. So join us for that and a live call-in show Monday tomorrow at around 5 o'clock Eastern. So give us your calls then. So until then, you guys stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon.